grab the Monkey Dory. So it's a really good card to have down, especially when you've seen Brent already go through one of these stadium cards. Research to follow it up. So 7 cards for Vini, can still use that Artisan. See what these cards allow him to put together this turn.
Yeah, and Artisan, a very safe stadium to put down because Brent's amount of basic non-rule box Pokemon is pretty much minimal, right? It's pretty much just the Kyurem, which you might not want to bench anyway, the Cleffa and the Hoot Hoot, and the Hoot Hoot's already down, and I don't think you really want to put the Cleffa down when it can get easily KO'd by an Everlasting Darkness, so a very safe stadium to put down for Vini as well.
We'll see the Trekking Shoes, gets rid of a Curlia, finds another card from the deck. And the question here, was there some sort of way to get something like Gardevoir EX into play? If you put Gardevoir into play, it's maybe something that's a little bit more tough to knock out. It allows you to put some of these Psychic Energies onto your Psychic Pokemon as you so choose. And it looks like that's the motion of an Ultra Ball right there for Vini, and it will be. Does get rid of a few pieces that aren't needed, and will now find that Gardevoir EX. I mean, looking at this piece, though, it looks like there's not a way to get Monkey Dory back at this spot, and that can be tough. It's really a big piece of this deck to constantly be healing your Pokemon, but also essentially applying more damage and turning your item lock 30 into item lock 60.
Yeah, that's really ideally what you want to be doing, right? And not only turning your item lock into doing more damage, but healing your own Pokemon in the process as well. So every time you do that ability, you move 30 off of your own onto one of your opponent's Pokemon. So really pulling double duty in that regard. Going to want to re-establish that if at all possible. But after finding this Gardevoir, going to go for a refinement first. Going to discard that Professor's Research. Doesn't really want to discard the resources in hand right now. 2 more cards drawn, finds another Psychic Energy and a Buddy Puffin, it looks like.
So Gardevoir will be evolved into the active spot, and this makes me wonder, is this going to be an attacking with Gardevoir EX turn? And it looks like it will be. So an attachment for turn and 1 Psychic Embrace smartly means that it will be out of Lost Impact range. So while Brent will be able to play item cards again, he will not have necessarily an easy path to knock out this Gardevoir. He would need something like another Gusting card to maybe take a knockout onto Benetiax instead. Yeah,
and this is one of the biggest differentiators and skill gap between people who play the item lock decks, right? Is knowing exactly the right time to turn off the item lock when it's you're doing a meaningful attack or meaningful damage, and when you know that the items being enabled for your opponent again is going to enable them to have the least advantage. It's such a hard balance to get right, but if you can get it right, that's when these item lock decks really, really shine.
We finally do see the Super Rod, and the Artisan means that we'll see either the Monkey Dory or the Screamtail come down into play. So that will mean that more Pokemon slowly will join. The biggest thing here for Vini is you've got to be careful to not put 3 of those Pokemon in play that have 100 or 10 HP or less. If you do that, a simple Trifrost is going to close things out. So it is sort of one of the limitations you have when you're not playing Manaphy in your deck. It can come up in some circumstances, but not enough clearly for Vini, as he's chosen to omit playing Manaphy this weekend in his deck list.
Yeah, Manaphy in general is a card that's seen a little big downtick in play. I think a lot of people thinking because, of course, it doesn't prevent the Phantom Dive bench damage from happening because that places damage counters rather than doing damage, not worth playing. But, of course, it does protect you very well against Kyurem's Trifrost, so it is still a consideration. Some people playing it, some not. But in this instance, yeah, no worry about that. So that Trifrost could be really devastating later on.
So it looks like we're lining up for a Miracle Force onto this Regidrago. So it will put it to 90 HP remaining. Listen, it's getting close to being knocked out in the future by some Everlasting Darkness attacks. So here we go, 190 damage, and Brent has the green light. It is back online and does have Ultra Ball. This makes me wonder here, is there a way for Brent to maybe close the game out this turn? Does have access to the Noctowl finally, so Jewel Seeker is available, but I don't think there's any ways to, modify the damage in this spot. There's nothing like Hawlucha, some cards like that. However, this will make it pretty enticing that Brent is going to be able to take another 2-prize turn, and additionally, if he so chooses, can spread damage, or doesn't even need to spread damage, but can just threaten game on the following turn by using that Trifrost and knocking out something like Monkey Dory.
And I think the big thing, right, is if you do this here, you have the boss's orders play, and you just KO the Banette, then you know your items are good for the rest of the game, and that's almost like good enough, right? Just kind of stop that item lock from being reestablished, and you're good to go.
Yeah, when the item lock doesn't slow your opponent down, you see 30 damage is just not enough in this spot. Brent has found the pieces he needs to take control of this game, and there's really not a lot of options Vini has left. Brent's going to go ahead and play this Canceling Cologne just because. Getting it out of the hand, Temple of Sinnoh will get rid of the Artisan, so less help for Vini in terms of finding those basic Pokemon, as Brent will just continue to play down everything he needs, and the boss's orders to finish things off onto this Benetiax. We'll see how he decides to spread the damage counters, but it's going to be a very hard game for Vini to come back in.
Yeah, this Temple of Sinnoh actually pulling double duty as well, of course, because it does shut off the Luminous energy, which is the only, basically, dark-type energy provider that Vini plays. So that Monkey Dory is not going to be able to use its ability unless he finds a Stadium counter.
And he will not be able to, because we saw both Artisan get played. The one Stadium played for a turn, and then Professor's Research discarded the other Artisan the previous turn. So sort of an insult to injury here for Vini.
Yeah.
He is pretty deep in this game, so he'll decide to play it out, see what he can cook up to close things out.
Yeah, that Monkey Dory effectively neutered, and that's very important as well, because Monkey Dory might have been one of the ways that Vini could really claw his way back into this game, given that there was no item lock established. But as it stands currently, yeah, I think Brent's got this pretty much on lock.
The Gardevoir will come up, but with how things stand, it's going to be in target range for a Lost Impact knockout. I think the doors are shutting on Vini. I mean, this is a last round. Obviously, a tie is okay. It's not optimal for either player. But maybe that's what Vini's thinking at this spot. I might as well play to my outs. If I lose, I've got 2 more games. We will just see. It looks like the attachment to the Gardevoir. This could be a spot where, maybe you go for some sort of confusion flip possibly, or just taking the knockout as is. We'll be adding some disruption with the Iono. And there is a Mew EX, though, for Brent, so it's going to give him a little bit of security in terms of this draw. We'll have the 1 card, and then, of course, can fill the hand up with that restart ability. Vini's still getting 6 cards because he has yet to take a prize card so far in this match.
Can you even stop Brent from taking a KO here? I guess he can KO the Regidrago, right? But then all you really need is, 1 extra energy on the Regidrago?
Just a grass energy. Yep, that would be it. And I think this is going to be the biggest play here for Vini. If he can bring up a Screamtail eventually and then counter catcher one of these Pokemon on the bench with a Gemstone, I think that's really going to be his best way to get into this. And we are actually just going to see the Prime Catcher onto the Noctowl, and this is step 1 here for Vini. Bring up a Pokemon that has a 1 retreat cost, cannot retreat for free essentially. It's going to have to need a manual attachment or an energy switch. Take the knockout onto this Regidrago V-Star on the bench, and now force your opponent to either have the Prime Catcher that I believe has not been played yet, or for them to have the energy attachment for turn and an energy switch. Let's see what Brent has. And look at that energy switch and the energy, the perfect 2 cards, and it's going to end the game out in style. Noctowl coming in saying, look, I can compete too, I can play. Noctowl giving off the finish.
And then you can't do the item lock anymore. That's really where it started to fall apart. And we see here the starts as well with that Regidrago V. A great start there for Brent, so able to take it. Oh wait, you're already going to the game? Okay.
Yeah, we could look at the replay, or we can get to this game 2 action. And you think, you know what I think? I think we should get down to the action here. So Vini will get to go first again. These prize cards, not too detrimental. You do have a couple of Pokemon, one of those Gravity Gemstone, but you're starting with a Buddy Puffin, you're starting with Shuppet in the active. If you can get an energy attachment too, you're going to be in a very, very solid position. It's really going to, again, be on Brent, first turn with item cards. How many of those energy switch are you able to play? Brent this time will hopefully have access to more than one of those Teal Mask Ogre Pawn. Could definitely change the dynamic of this matchup depending on what Brent is able to do on this first turn of the game.
Now, I had a quick peek at Brent's opening hand once we go over that. I think the rest of the hand currently is a Kyurem and 6 energy.
Wow.
That's really not good.
Well, for both players' sakes, let's hope some things improve for Brent soon on.
Yeah, there it is.
It's not what you want to see at all. So Vini will finish that first deck search. We'll get the news that these prizes are definitely workable. We'll grab what looks like to be 2 Ralts off the Buddy Puffin and make that 2.
Woo, 2 Buddy Puffin, pretty much the polar opposite of a start in terms of strength. Able to get down 2 more Shuppet onto the bench, and then with the 2 Ralts coming down as well, it's as good a turn 1 as you could ever ask for, really.
Full swing here for Vini, full setup. Bennett online, hopefully for the second turn of the game. Brent will have to, really take advantage of his only turn without items, but if his hand is as weak as you say, Freya, it's really not what you want, because you're going to just get the energy card down, and then you're going to be in a world of pain you're going to be in the darkness for the rest of the game is what's going to happen.
Well, I guess at the very least, every single card in your hand is a card you can play under item lock.
Have you ever seen a turn 3 Dragon Laser? It might be time.
Yeah, and that is, it's a Cleffa, the draw for turn as well. That's so horrendous. You can barely thin out this hand. And you can't even retreat anyway. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and Cleffa's not even a great Pokemon to play down. No. You've got to put it down just because there is a world where you could lose the game to something like a Poltergeist, Iono. So you've got to, leave it so you don't lose the game, but having Cleffa down is very, very unoptimal in terms of, how you'd like your board to be, a Pokemon that just gets knocked out by Monkey Dory in one Adrenabrain use. So it looks like Vini has an opportunity, pending there's a Bayonet EX, to start item blocking and put himself in a solid spot.
I'm not going to lie, if I was Brent here, especially considering the matchup I'm up against, I would have considered going for the Celestial Roar, but it looks like it's going to be an Enveloping Shadow in his heads. So even now, if he draws an item, it's not going to be an out. It draws an Earthen Vessel.
Wow. Really had nothing in the hand. No Curlias. No Bayonet EX. Just has to attach and pass. Is there anything for Vini here? Another Buddy Poffin. Is the hand really that bad? It's just some
both
Pokemon
players,
and Boss's orders, it looks like. Are we going to have to see some more coin flips? Here we go. It's another Shadow Flip. Heads to keep Brent item locked. It's a Tails.
But will it matter?
Well, it kind of matters in this case. I mean, the biggest thing here is Brent can continue to thin the deck out, grab some more energy cards, and now the Dragon Laser can be used from Brent to start taking some prize cards and put some damage onto these bench Pokemon.
But hold on, I think Brent top decked the Professor's Research as well.
That's exactly what you want. Professor's Research would be the excellent card for Brent to search through the deck a little bit, grab some more pieces, draw some more cards. We'll be getting the news that there is one Ogerpon on the prize cards. Everything else very tame in terms of power strength. So assuming that he can, pop off this turn and put on a good show, take some knockouts, apply some pressure, he's going to be in a really good spot.
And, the turnaround right here, who we were saying, Brent has a really rough start and Vini's super strong with the double Buddy Poffin, but you just completely didn't even realize that the rest of Vini's hand was really, really weak. So you have all these Pokemon out, but then nothing to follow up with. And now suddenly Brent has been bailed out by this top deck of the Professor's Research, and he's off to the races.
Yeah, absolutely. No Dragon Pokemon in the discard pile yet besides what I believe is just the Kyurem. So we'll see if there's anything else and if there's a Regidrago V-Star. And there is Ultra Ball in the hand. And this makes me wonder if the Kyurem is in the discard pile, is it worth going for a big Trifrost this turn if it means you are guaranteed not going to get item locked on the following turn? Oh, not guaranteed though, that's the tough thing, right? If you were to use Trifrost, you could knock out all the Shuppet. But there is a world, where, who knows, Rare Candy is played, and then Everlasting Darkness, or Enveloping Shadow, excuse me,
could coin flip again
and go back. So I think this is just the safer decision here for Brent. Use Phantom Dive, knock out two of these Shuppets. Your opponent's hand is so weak. There's got to be a top deck here for Vini. Is there something to bail it out?
Nest Ball.
It's just a Nest Ball. That's not what you need. There's no Pokemon like Pheasantipity here, just the Mew EX, so it may be restart and pray here for Vini. But on top of that, having Mew on the bench, it is a great way to draw cards, but it's a big liability in a matchup like this down the line. And we're going to be fully thinning out. We're going to see the Buddy Poffin.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, wow, this is tough.
Yeah, so I think there was a discussion there because whether it was okay to just order things, but no, we're all good here. So go for the attachment, restart, drawing two cards once to find. Oh, it's a Boss's Orders and a Monkey Dory.
The boss is at least something you can maybe try and stall for a little bit of time, but that is not what you want at all. We're going to actually see the Boss's Orders onto the Mew, and the Enveloping Shadow, it does flip heads, so that is at least a way to, slow time down a little bit more. But as it stands, the Mew has free retreat. It can move out of the active spot. Vini did not play the boss to, have the effect. It was just to try and draw more cards off restart the following turn. So the effect is not what's important. But here we go. Brent is just going to have another two-prize turn, taking both knockouts, having not used the V-Star power yet, having nothing in play. And here we go. This is Vini's best chance. Two cards off restart. Is there anything that can bail him out of this spot?
There's
a Curlia and an Iono. But the big piece here for Brent is there has not been a V-Star power used yet. No V-Star power means there are going to be lots of options for him to grab back. However, Vini can put together some sort of combination. It's really going to revolve around that Gravity Gemstone. If there's no Gravity Gemstone, a simple attachment on any of these bench Pokemon means that a retreat and a Boss's Orders, or even just a Trifrost, could close this game out.
Yes, so many Trekkie shoes being fired off. I saw 1, 2, 3, almost like 4 there in a row as more cards in the discard, more draw, but no Gravity Gemstone. So I think, I don't think Vini has a way to really stop Brent from winning here because he can just use the Legacy Star to get back the Boss's Orders and KO the Mew. you.
He can just Trifrost this turn as well.
Or that, yeah.
That's a total option. It just seems like there are too many doors open for Brent to close this game out, and Vini is just seeing what he can possibly do. Sure, there's the counter catcher, but your opponent has the exact card they need to close it out, and that's going to be it. Brent Tonisson, 2-0, advancing to 7-1 to end off day number 1 in a solid spot to potentially bring home his first international championship win.
Yeah, huge congratulations to Brent. It's been it was literally the #1 ranked player in the world on championship points last season, and with the amount of events that he plays in, it's hardly surprising, right? But now maybe looking to already was able to win a regionals, of course, or was it second place? I'm trying to remember. That was one of the regionals I was a part of, so I should know.
He did win a regional championship last
that was
year,
it.
so he does have a regional win. However,
last.
he is missing that international placement, that super solid international placement. I know that's something he's really looking for this season.
And we know he's good enough to do it as well, right? I mean, there is barely, in terms of the amount of events that he's played and the skill that he's demonstrating that we know he has. You don't want to say overdue because, I mean, there's so many players that you could say that about, right? But if there's anyone who I wouldn't be surprised to be picking up their first internationals win, it would be Brent.
A very deserving player, played Pokemon essentially full-time last year, traveled to so many events and ended as the global #1 Pokemon Championship point leaderboard holder. See if he has what it takes. I know he's looking to get that achievement again. It's going to be a hard one for sure because, again, lots of players are always giving it their best, traveling to all these events, trying to be the very best. However, it's always anybody's game, and Brent is a fundamentally solid player with a lot of experience and a lot of plot armor in terms of, the Australians do have a lot of plot armor going to the event. So plot armor, experience, good draws, and good fundamentals. That's a great combination.
I was going to say, I'm a little bit disappointed. The very best, like no one ever was. Come on, it was right there.
It was too obvious. I left out half. I've been okay with, my puns today for what it's worth. I want to leave it out a little bit, for the viewers at home to interpret it, but I could have made it more direct. You are right.
Right, but yes, Brent moving on to 7-1. That wasn't a win-in match, as we already mentioned. Both of these players already securing enough match points to make it into day 2, but with this win, as we mentioned, Brent is on a very good track to advance all the way to top 8, and that's what he's really going to be gunning for because, he, like you said, he is hungry for that internationals win.
Yeah, he wants it more than anyone. He is a hardworking player, somebody who has been involved within Pokemon for years. I mean, Brent started out playing the Pokemon video game for years and then eventually switched over to TCG. I mean, this is back when the only way to get your invite to Worlds was to do well at Australia's National Championship.
Oh my goodness.
In the younger divisions, in the juniors and seniors divisions. Brent has been involved with Pokemon for a while. He has passion for the game. He showcases it every time he's on stream. And I know it would mean a lot to him to have a strong finish here this weekend in Brazil.
Yeah, so I was in the hotel lobby just, I think it was yesterday or the day before, talking with some folks about just how Brent does it, right? And so his genius for play doesn't only apply to playing. Apparently, he has it all planned out in his head, the way to take the best flight, the best possible price on the best days, and he has it all mapped out to make it possible. So he's applying his genius to his flight mapping to make this possible, as well as to his play as well, which I think is just another level of galaxy brain planning and just strategy.
He is one smart cookie for sure. There is not a lot of people I know who are as smart as Brent inside and out of the game. It's what makes him a great player. It's what makes him a great mind. And with a mind like that, with a deck like Regidrago V-Star, it could be his day. It could be his tournament.
Yeah. Now, unlike in Game 1, let's run it back there just to have a look and see the replay for that match and just go over the key moments for that matchup there. I think that it's going to be really cool to just go back through these moments as we do see that in game 2, I believe?
Yeah, this was the second game.
Yeah.
Of course, we did see. This was just sort of, pure domination on Brent's side. I mean, there were a few moments here. Of course, Vini didn't have a super solid starting hand. It wasn't anything, super intense. Yeah. But, look, I mean, this is the way Pokemon works sometimes. You hate to see it happen in such a high-stakes match like this where, every match point matters. But, I mean, this is sort of what this set came down to. Game 1, Brent was slowed down by the item block, but was able to, use that V-Star power to guarantee that attack. And then by placing those damage counters with Phantom Dive, eventually set up consistent knockouts onto the Banette EX. And it was just too little too late before Vini was able to, finally get that strategy all ready and good. I think we're ready for the interview to hear from the man himself, Brent Tonisson, 7-1, representing Australia. It's going to be a great day 2 to see how well he does. So we'll see that interview in a second. Of course, Brent, again, in this game 2, just had such a dominating performance. Things got set up. There were Kirlias in play. Vinny did have that super, super intense draw, but it was Brent taking it home. Let's send it down to the stage and hear what he has to say and how he's feeling after that day one.
Thanks a bunch, Ethan and Freya. That's right, I am here with our winner from the last round. Moving into day 2 here at LAIC, Brent Tonisson making the journey all the way from Australia. How's it feel to be making it not only into day 2, but with a strong record of 7-1?
Feels pretty good. I made a mistake in one of my rounds, and then I managed to bounce back. But sometimes it's really hard though, because if you take a loss due to like a mistake, you never know when the other losses due to bad draws happen. Unfortunately, that just didn't happen.
I mean, it's really difficult to play a perfect game of the Pokemon TCG, let alone a perfect tournament. So many stories of tournaments come down to how players are able to bounce back. So glad to hear you're able to make that happen, up to 7-1. You have been to every single LAIC. What keeps you coming back to this event year after year?
Well, I guess there's a few things. So I do really, I like traveling a lot, I guess. One, I like playing Pokemon a lot, so I always show up here. And since, like, I've showed up to every IC except one, so like if it's an IC here, I'm gonna be there. So
yeah, totally makes sense. You and your testing group have been rocking this Regidrago V-Star deck a bunch throughout this format. What led to you guys deciding that this was still the play for this last event of the Stellar Crown format?
well, we have played a lot with a lot of the decks, except all the decks have their own kind of problems. So we just feel like Drago's problems are the least prominent of all the decks. And every single tournament we've seen, Raging Bolt is the top played deck. And every tournament they're like, oh no, Drago's not good next one. There will be too many bolts. And then they'll up the amount of bolts, and then Drago does better. So it doesn't seem to stop the bolts. I think our group is positive into bolt today as well. I think it was 1 loss, 1 tie, and like another 5 wins, maybe 5, 6 wins. So we're doing pretty well into the bolts.
Yes, that's pretty good. I mean, I think many players, and you guys probably as well would agree, is generally one of the worst matchups for the deck. So it's good that you've been able to go positive against it overall throughout the weekend. Let's talk about this last match here. You go up against Vini, very strong young player from this country of Brazil. He's playing the Banette. You always have to kind of change your game plan a little bit from what you normally would do when you go up against a alternate strategy deck like Item Lock, which is what Vini was playing. What was the key for you in that game? What were the things you wanted to make sure going in that you were able to execute on in both of those games?
Well, I would say that I have a lot of practice against Item Lock just because I've played many older formats with Item Lock. But one of the big things is that when they Item Lock, they aren't going for big attacks. And especially if you have a small hand, they can't even go for the big attacks unless they go for a Gardevoir attack. So usually I'm mostly worried about Poltergeist in the early game. And then in the late game, if I'm ahead on the prize trade, like in that game, I was more worried about the energies, which is why instead of using Knocked Out for Vessel to get a good energy attachment, I decided to get a Rod so I wouldn't get trapped out of the game.
Yeah, and planning ahead seems super important in situations like that. I mean, your opponent is built to come from behind, is built to slow the game down, so taking away any opportunity to do that. I definitely love the Motivate play as well in that first game. It's something you don't see all that often from a lot of Regidrago V-Star players, but it really can be a strong option. Is that something you've been going to throughout the weekend?
Well, Motivate's really strong, specifically in this matchup, because if they want to Item Block, they're not taking out your Squawk ability, which is like, usually the problem with Squawk ability is it just gets knocked out really easily because of its low health. But in that situation, it's like, if they don't do anything, I've just got all these energies in play for free. So they either knock out, give me the Item Lock, or they only do 30, and it's not that much, which allowed me to just get all these energy attachments. And in the matchup, the energy attachments is really the most important part.
So you're 7-1 heading into Swiss tomorrow. We're going to have 4 more rounds of Swiss in day number 2. What does the path look like for you? How do you get into that top 8?
Well, 3-1 should put me in asymmetrical. Ideally, I don't get into asymmetrical, so 301 or better. Worst case, I'd hopefully like to get at least some cash. One of the other top 64, 32, or 16 placements. I'm in a pretty good spot that I should be able to hopefully get one of those, unless I get a really bad day too.
Don't want to speak too soon, right? It's Pokemon, anything can happen, but you're obviously an excellent player and you've put yourself in a great spot thus far in the tournament. Well, best of luck to you, Brent. We'll be looking forward to seeing how your tournament continues to develop tomorrow here at LAIC. We're going to throw it, I guess before I let you go, any shout outs or thank yous you want to give?
Yeah, so I like to shout out my team, Team TDG. I like to shout out all the boys at the crib. And what else? Of course, my testing partners, my family. Yeah, that's about it.
Love to hear it. Thanks so much, Brent, for your time. Congrats on the 7-1 finish. We're going to kick it back to the casters. Ethan and Freya, take it away.
Thanks so much, Chip. Great to hear from Brent. Again, a seasoned player, a very smart mind in the Pokemon TCG. And, you know, he's got one thing on his mind. He's got money on his mind for tomorrow. And I think a lot of players have that on their mind as well.
It always feels so satisfying, right? Even if you don't win, you know, outright at the event, to get into those cash placements, that's when you really start to feel like, you know, my goodness, my performance at this game is good enough to get that, you know, a little bit of cash prizing. It's a great feeling. I've been there myself before. It's always a lovely little reward to experience.
Well, what a day, Freya. We're done with day 1. 8 Swiss rounds completed. We're going to have more action tomorrow, where we will be having our final players play down till there are just 2, which will take place on Championship Sunday. Speaking of our day 2 players, let's take a look and see who was able to make it to the second day of competition. These are some of the many names of players who were able to advance, and there are tons that stick out. Freya, hit me with a couple here that right away stick out as strong, solid players.
So some of the sort of staple names of strong performances for Brazil, I'm seeing Pedro Bertucci, I'm seeing William Azevedo, I'm seeing Otávio Gouveia, and going over to Isaiah Bradley we saw earlier as well, and then I'll throw the rest to you, but one last one, Konsta Kalama, who of course is one of Europe and one of Finland's top players. So yeah, that would be my picks to start with. What about you?
Yeah, I want to actually point out somebody who is not really super talked about. He was a very prevalent player in the seniors division and has been playing a lot recently. I want to confirm that he got this win, and he did. Jackson Ford at 8-0 going into day 2.
Yeah.
He is going in at a perfect record, playing a really cool deck. Of course, there's still plenty of action to play, and we might feature him, so I'll keep it a surprise. But Jackson Ford is definitely a name that sticks out. Caleb Rogerson, again, a lot of players that we featured on stream, and again, a mix of countries and regions here showing up.
And 2 more very important to note, Giovanni Sasso, who we saw earlier, is still live to make that insane rookie season run, and Diego Hafshi is still live for day 2. Could be the not back-to-back, but the double home Brazilian LAIC champion. It's still live for him.
Still plenty of action, and you guys are going to want to make sure you're here for day 2, of course, when we start things off. Day 2, of course, tomorrow. You'll make sure you want to tune into the stream at 9 a.m. Brazilian time or 4 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Wherever you are in the world, you'll be up. It's Pokemon. I don't care. No excuses. Join the stream tomorrow. I don't care if you're in Hollywood, California, or if you're here.
Or in Tokyo.
If it's Pokemon time, it's time to be up. So join us tomorrow, where we'll be breaking it down all the way to 2 players, and then, of course, Championship Sunday, we'll be crowning, believe it or not, champions for the Pokemon TCG.
Yes, we will, and other games as well, of course. All the champions for all the games on Championship Sunday, all on not on the Pokemon TCG channel, but on the main Pokemon channel. That is, of course, our main feature day for all of our finalists and champions. Now, don't forget to follow along on our social media channels. So you're there, see on X and on Instagram with the hashtag PlayPokemon, and make sure to use that hashtag PokemonLAIC as well, so that you can go ahead and tweet at us, let us know about your experiences. If you're here at the venue or you're watching from home, tweet at us, and like we've already done, maybe we'll feature some of your social media posts tomorrow.
Yeah, of course, not only can you enjoy watching the exciting battles for all of our titles this weekend, but there are some drops and giveaways going on depending on which game you are following, starting with the TCG, the new Pikachu EX. It's not legal for this weekend, but of course does have very powerful abilities and attacks, and you can use it in Pokemon TCG Live by using that code LAIC25 Topaz Volt to redeem a Pikachu EX Special Illustration Rare. This is a beautiful card, and one I'll definitely be claiming later on.
Yeah, I already did it actually whilst I was on the break during one of the waves. I just went ahead and got it done, so I didn't forget. But yeah, gorgeous artwork. One of the cards with really big potential, and kind of really the poster Pokemon for Surging Sparks with that Resolute Heart ability. Can't be knocked out in one hit, of course, and that Topaz Ball, 300 damage. Sure, it's for a grass and a lightning and a metal, but yeah, ways to do that right. I think that card will have a lot of potential when Surging Sparks becomes tournament legal.
Potential indeed. Pokemon Go is doing drops all weekend, so make sure you tune in to Pokemon Go, twitch.tv/Pokemon Go, where you can earn Twitch drops. It looks like some Pokemon, some items, everything in between by celebrating the 2025 Latin America International Championships. Stay tuned, check it out, and make sure you guys get involved.
Yeah, it was fun with the Pokemon Go drops there. I do believe there's a for Alligator and some missions going on, but you may watch along to earn those Twitch drops. And then we do, I believe, have a giveaway, for the video game as well.
Yeah, of course, that shiny Pelipper giveaway that's happening all weekend. You can go ahead and receive Patrick Connors, 2024 NAIC winning Shiny Pelipper, so you know that thing's got some good moves.